Let's talk about sentence structure. Don't be worried, it's far from rocket science. The first thing that you need to know is that there are four main structures: simple, compound, complex, and compound complex. A simple sentence is one independent clause. You may be asking, what is a clause? A Santa Claus? Sorry, no presents here. A clause is just a group of words that has its own subject and verb. For example, the sentence, the dog ran across the street. The subject is the dog, and the verb is ran. This makes it an independent clause, or a clause that can be a sentence. There are also dependent clauses that must have other words or clauses to make it a complete sentence. Now we move on to a compound sentence. This one is a little more complicated than the simple sentence. A compound sentence has multiple independent clauses. These two are usually linked by a comma and a conjunction. There are many different conjunctions to choose from, but the most common one used is and. That can get a little repetitive, so this device gives you 7 common conjunctions to use while writing a compound sentence. It is called fanboys. It stands for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Here's an example of a compound sentence. The dog ran across the street and he almost got hit by a car. The first independent clause is, the dog ran across the street. The second is, he almost got hit by a car. There's a comma right before the conjunction, and. This is where the sentence structure gets more complex. It is in the name. The complex sentence structure has one independent clause and at least one dependent clause. Remember, the dependent clause is not a complete sentence. It does still have a subject and a verb. The dependent clause usually starts with a subordinating conjunction. Here's another device to help you remember the 7 subordinating conjunctions. I swap you. It stands for if, since, when, after, although, because, until. Here's an example of a complex sentence. When the dog crossed the street, he ran into a cat. The dependent clause is, when the dog crossed the street. The independent clause is, he ran into a cat. The two are linked by a comma, and the subordinating conjunction is when. The fourth and final sentence structure is the compound complex sentence. This is probably the hardest one out of all the structures. It requires at least 2 independent clauses and at least 1 dependent clause. There is usually a comma and a conjunction that hold the rest of the sentence together. Here's an example of a compound complex sentence. After the dog ran across the street, his owner picked him up, and he brought his beloved dog home. The dependent clause is, after the dog ran across the street. The first independent clause is, his owner picked him up, and the other dependent clause is, he brought his beloved dog home. The conjunction is and. Along with what to do, there's also a list of things not to do. There are 3 things that are wrong ways to write sentences. They are comma splices, fragments, and run-on sentences. A comma splice is taking 2 sentences and putting them together with a comma. Here's an example of a comma splice. Jane went to the store. She bought some milk. These sentences need to be joined together by a conjunction and a comma, or become 2 separate sentences. A fragment is simply an incomplete sentence. The fragment, went to the store, has a verb, but not a subject. If you just add a subject, such as Mary, the fragment becomes a complete sentence. Mary went to the store. A run-on sentence is when clauses aren't linked together by anything, rather just put next to each other. Here's an example. Jane went to the store, she bought milk. These are the things you need to know not to do. These are the 4 sentence structures in the English language, and how to successfully write them. Clauses, conjunctions, and punctuation. With a little practice, you'll be able to write your sentence in no time.
Created using Powtoon.